Hi, I'm Chloe here at magicalwellness.co. For today, I wanted to talk about fear. I drew this card, the Nine of Swords, from the Game of Thrones tarot. And one of the things that it made me think about was, this seems like a lot less of a just intellectual fear, thoughts whirring around in your mind. This feels like a more instinctual fear, a more visceral fear. And that got me thinking about the way that sometimes things in our past, perhaps experiences that we've had, can lead to us having fear which becomes embodied, like the wolf has fear as a very present in its body. It feels it, for the every, like its hair stands up and its ears prick up and it growls and all of those things. It's almost an automatic reaction. It senses something that is dangerous and this aggression and fear comes up. And, I imagine also it's got, all of that fight, flight, freeze response going on. So it's ready to fight. It's got the adrenaline coursing and all of that. And sometimes that kind of physical bodily response happens to us because of things that we've experienced in the past that then can get triggered again by things which, you might think, why on earth am I afraid of that? It's ridiculous. There's no rational reason for me to be afraid of that. And yet the fear is there. It's present in your body. You're having this response. And so for those kinds of situations, I thought I would do a little tapping. So I'd like you to try and think about, how much do you have fear that might be based on past experiences where it was truly relevant to have that kind of response where you needed to be able to do something, be it to freeze or to flee or to fight. And that perhaps that response has now become embedded in your body so that it comes up at times which are not really as appropriate. So if that feels true to you, then we're going to tap on that. So, ready to begin. Even though I have this fear and it's in my body, and sometimes it gets triggered and I feel that rush of adrenaline coursing through me. My heart starts to pound. All these physical responses. And it's not rational. And sometimes it's just not appropriate. And I completely and deeply love and accept myself. Even though I have this fear in my body, and sometimes it makes me respond in ways I don't like. And it's not really good for me to have all that adrenaline rushing around my body. And it might affect my sleep. And it might affect my immune system. And it might affect my weight. And I completely and deeply love and accept myself anyway. Even though I have this fear in my body, and sometimes it's overwhelming, and it can get triggered by the strangest of things. And I know it's not rational. And I know it's not helpful. And I completely and deeply love and accept myself. Tapping through the points. This fear, it's a visceral fear. And I feel it in my body. And sometimes it comes up for no apparent reason, or for a reason that just doesn't make sense. Maybe if I'm alone, maybe if it's dark, maybe just because I see a stranger somewhere. And I know these responses aren't rational. And I don't like feeling this fear in my body. And it's not good for my health. This fear isn't good for my well-being. And yet I have this fear in my body. And there are reasons why my body developed this response. And at the time it was appropriate. At the time there really was danger or risk. And it's not appropriate now. And I'm open to the possibility that I can let this fear go now. And I can still keep a healthy response to dangerous situations. As I release unnecessary fear. And I will be stronger and healthier for releasing this fear. And I will feel better mentally and emotionally for releasing this fear. And I'm ready to release this fear. I've had this fear in my body. And I'll keep a healthy response to dangerous situations. And I can let go of unnecessary fear. And perhaps I can picture that fear draining out through the soles of my feet. All that fear draining out through my feet into the earth. And the earth is big enough to absorb it all. Or maybe I'll imagine that fear blowing out like a dark cloud every time I exhale. And I'm ready to let this fear go. I'm ready to release this fear. This fear that's been in my body for quite some time. And it's safe to let this fear go. And I can feel safe. I can feel secure. I can feel okay. Letting this fear go now. Take a deep breath. So I hope that you found that helpful. I'm also going to be posting something this week with a tarot spread for examining your fears, where they came from, what's triggering them at the moment, and how to best deal with them. and also a spell for protection and feeling safe. I hope that all of these resources will be helpful, and if you want to, you can tap along again or just feel good in the knowledge that you have released some fear today. Blessed be.